$700 a month for a car sounds expensive, but honestly, it does not sound unusual anymore. When people are deciding whether they can afford a car, they usually focus on one thing. Can I fit the payment into next month's budget? What they usually do not think about is what that same money could be worth 30 years from now. So I ran the numbers, and there are 6 questions I want to work through. How much does a $700 monthly payment really add up to? What happens if you invest that amount for the length of one car loan? What happens if you stop after 6 years and leave the money alone? What if you still buy a car but invest only the difference? What if the payment never really goes away? And what should you ask before signing the loan? Let's start with the payment itself. A 72-month loan lasts 6 years. At $700 a month, that adds up to $50,400 in payments. The issue is that we tend to shop by the month. $700 might feel manageable. More than $50,000 feels like a much bigger decision. Now take that same $700 a month and put it somewhere else. Instead of making a car payment, imagine investing it every month for those same 6 years. For these examples, I am using an average annual return of 8%. After 6 years, the account would be worth about $64,000. You put in a little over $50,000 and growth added the rest. That is a solid result, but 6 years is not the part that surprised me. The bigger difference shows up after you stop contributing. Imagine you reach the end of those 6 years and never add another penny. No more $700 each month. You simply leave the $64,000 alone for another 24 years. By year 30, it could grow to roughly $437,000. You invested for 6 years, contribute a little over $50,000, and then let time do the rest. That is the future value tied to one 72-month stretch of payments. And it is almost impossible to picture when you're sitting at a dealership. You can see the car, you can see the monthly payment, you cannot see what that money might have become decades later. The car payment ends after 6 years. The loss compounding does not. Now, before anyone says it, I know this comparison is not completely fair. Most people still need a car. The real choice is usually not a car or no car. It is one car versus a less expensive car. It is buying new versus buying used. It is replacing your current vehicle now versus keeping it for another couple of years. Or it is spending everything the lender approves versus choosing a lower number. So let's say you still buy a reliable car, but you lower the payment by $400 a month. You keep $300 in the car budget and invest the $400 difference. After 6 years, that investment account would be worth about $37,000. Then you stop contributing and leave it alone for another 24 years. By year 30, it could grow to roughly $250,000. That is about $250,000 from spending $400 less each month for one 6-year loan period. And $400 is only an example. Maybe the difference is higher or lower than that a month, you are still reaping the rewards of compounding. So this is not an all or nothing decision. You do not have to invest the full car payment for the numbers to matter. Even a smaller difference can become a large amount when it has enough time. Now let's look at the person who never really gets rid of the payment. They finance a car for 6 years. When the loan is finally paid off, they trade it in and start another loan. A few years later, they do it again. The car changes, but the payment stays in the budget. At some point, $700 a month stops feeling temporary. It just becomes normal. If that same $700 were invested every month for 30 years at 8%, the account could grow to just over $1 million. You would put in $252,000. Growth would add roughly $791,000. That is how a normal monthly payment can become $1 million decision. Not because one car literally costs $1 million. It is because decades of payments can keep the same money from building wealth somewhere else. And honestly, that does not automatically make the car a bad decision. Some people really enjoy cars. They care about the comfort, the features, the reliability, or simply what they get to drive every day. There is nothing wrong with spending money on something you value. The problem is making the choice without seeing the trade-off. A salesperson may ask what payment you are comfortable with, then the loan can be stretched until the vehicle fits that number. A car that felt too expensive over 4 years might suddenly feel affordable over 6 or 7. The monthly payment drops, but the car did not become cheaper. You're just paying for it longer. And getting approved for $700 a month does not mean $700 is the right payment for you. It only means the lender believes you can repay it. The lender is not thinking about your retirement goal, your emergency fund, or whether you want to pay off your house early. That part is up to you. One of the easiest ways to change the numbers is not even buying a dramatically cheaper car. It is keeping the car after the loan ends. Let's say you make the final $700 payment and keep the vehicle for 2 more years. That gives you 24 months without a payment and frees up $16,800. You could invest some of it, you could save some toward the next car, or you could split it between both. That makes the next purchase easier. You may have a larger down payment, need a smaller loan, or avoid financing altogether. That is how you start breaking the cycle. Not by promising you will never buy another car, just by creating some space between one loan and the next. Because once a payment becomes normal, it is easy to treat it like it is permanent. You pay off the car and think, I was already used to spending $700, so I can afford another $700. And maybe you can, but what else could part of that payment do? Could it increase your retirement contributions? Could it pay off another debt? Could it build your emergency fund? Could it give you more freedom to change jobs or retire earlier? Those trade-offs do not appear on the paperwork at the dealership. None of this means you should never buy a nice car. Spend money on the things you genuinely care about. Just make sure you understand what you're trading for them. Before signing the next loan, ask yourself a few questions. What will this vehicle cost me in total? How long will the payment stay in my budget? Could I keep my current car a little longer? And what could part of this payment become if I invested it instead? I wish you all the best in your journey, and if you found this helpful, subscribe to Dollar with a Plan. I have new videos every week.